What's going on, Dragon Ballers? I am here with Joseph, who had an awesome weekend at the national tournament last weekend. He played a very, very cool deck that we had not seen. I don't know if this deck has ever topped, actually. I know different versions of Maidens have topped, but I'm going to give it away to Joseph, let him introduce himself, and talk about how he did at nationals.
Hey guys, Joseph Blincoe here. I went about 6-2. That's 25th place with Shenron Maidens. I didn't think I would do this well. I definitely went into it just wanted to play Brienne and Brienne, and after some intensive testing with my teammates, Eric Solito and Kenneth Whitebean, we managed to create this list. I figured it didn't do terrible against all the decks in the meta, so I thought I'd give it a shot, and it performed much better than expected. So I'm glad I got the chance to talk to you all about it.
Awesome, man. Yeah, we're going to definitely spread the love. So I know that you have your matchups written down, so why don't you go over those kind of briefly?
Round one was Shenron Ramp, which is actually a pretty tough matchup for this deck because they have the 4-drop UI Goku, and if you don't push them fast enough, you just end up getting Gogeta or Kaioken or whatever they want to do. But I won game 1 because I got the start. Game 2 I lost, and then game 3 I actually decked the opponent out because I kept popping energy with Begrudging Respect Piccolo. And that was down to the wire.
That's pretty cool.
I think I won on turn 3 of overtime. Round 2 was Purunga Ramp, which is much of the same. Unfortunately, my opponent got really unlucky game 3. Didn't even get to awaken and didn't draw objection. Wow. So I killed them my turn 4, their turn 3. Couldn't even pay for UI Goku. Still had the 7th Dragon Ball on deck, which was really sad. Round 3 was against Pan, and much of what I've been saying before, I won game 1, I lost game 2, and he drew really, really poorly. So the first 4 turns of what was aggro Pan was pretty much just draw pass, and then I drew better off of Chain Zeno, and that's really all Pan is. Round 4 was Toa, which I think this deck does really well against, and I'm sure we'll get into the cards and all the details later.
Yep.
But I ended up winning. Round 5 I actually played on stream. If anyone was watching the stream, that was me that got absolutely destroyed on stream by that new Demigra list that played the Miraculous Collection Demigra. No way I was winning that matchup, but it was still really fun. Round 6 I played against Pat O'Neill's red, blue, yellow Nemba, which was really cool to see in action and absolutely destroyed my deck. I decked out faster than I probably ever decked out, and I felt like I was in a situation where I couldn't do anything, and I feel like he played that really well. Round 7 I played against Janemba again. I think there was just blue-red, so it was a little more irregular, and I ended up taking that, especially with the help of the Dangerous Journey Bulmas. And then round 8 was Toa again, which I believe this deck has a positive matchup against. So after that I lost to Demigra and Pat O'Neill's Nemba, and I won all the other matchups, leaving me 25th place.
Excellent, man. So that's an awesome performance. Just walk us through the curve of the deck. So obviously this is a deck that we don't really see very often. So give us like the curve and like the typical win turn.
Okay, so you usually win, I would say, turn 4, turn 5. Your turn 1 is usually you charge a multicolor, so you have access to Champa if you need it, and it's just a green energy. Turn 1's really the only turn you want to charge multicolor, so it's nice to see it early. You know, use your leader, rest your leader, get your Dragon Balls. Turn 2, you usually tap 2 assembling the squad, and then you search out Spirited Search Super Saiyan Trunks, who will mill 2 Dragon Balls. Chances are that gets you to 7 in some way. Maybe you were at 6, maybe you were at 5. You'll probably get to 7 with that play. Then you can wish, grab assembling the squad back from the drop area, use your desire for free, and get Brienne on the board, which will search you a Brienne piece. Turn 3 is either you evolve into Brienne if you want to do some kill turn next turn, or you usually do nothing. I liked to either play assembling for free for another Brienne, or I'll just draw a card and pass, because turn 4, if they're a deck that self-damages and they go down to 4, you can tap 3, evolve Brienne over Brienne de Chateau, and then tap 1, EX Evolve Transformation Complete over Ribrianne, and then give it triple attack and just go in. And usually, if they self-damage themselves, that's enough of a push to get in. But if it's against a deck that plays more defensively, turn 3 you can evolve into Ribrianne, and then you have 4 energy to play with, and only 1 is going to be used to go into Ribrianne Transformation Complete, and you can play around the other 3. If it's really like a control deck and you know it's going to go late, you can World Peace for Shenron Figure of Majesty, and then maybe set up to give Ribrianne crit later. Or if it's an aggro deck, you definitely want to get as many Piccolo assimilated ability on the board as possible. But usually your game ends with Ribrianne Transformation Complete going triple attack. And then if you have the spare energy, you can Paragus the Sacrifice, kill the Ribrianne, finish it off with Brawly Ultimate Agent Destruction.
Awesome, man. Yeah, so you had a game plan going into every single matchup, which is huge in my opinion. I think it gave you a big edge. So we'll start going through the deck list here, asking you about some choices. So 7 regular Dragon Balls. I know you actually mentioned the curve is very specific. You can't really 1-star on 1. You can't really Super Dragon Ball on 2 because you already have plays. But were there ever points in time where you were experimenting with other Dragon Balls?
I had 1-star ball until Draft Box, and then the green-yellow energy came out, and I said, this is definitely a better turn 1.
Gotcha. So then another question, that would you call this a hand control deck, or would you kind of just call this like a mid-range kind of, I don't know, push deck? Like what would you call this?
I like to call it control. There are definitely less hand control aspects. Right. It's literally just the Ribrianne that discards cards, and everything else is, I mean, aside from Brawly, but that never goes off.
Gotcha, yeah, because I was wondering if it was more of a hand control deck, maybe 1-star would fit in, but you do charge dual color turn 1, and it's not really too much of a hand control build, so I definitely see what you're saying there. So 3 Power Burst, 1 Kami. Was Kami, like, why this 1-drop in the deck? Did it ever come in clutch?
I absolutely love it. Something I like to do is, if you awaken on turn 2, without using any energy, let's say you started with 3 balls in an opener, which is not unrealistic, it happens sometimes.
Right.
You can assemble the squad for free and get Kami with it, and then tap 2 and clear the board. If you're against like really early like U6 or monkeys and they popped off. Otherwise, I was experimenting with Dende just for ramp, but I felt that the Grudging Respect gave me a good matchup against ramp. Well, not good, but I didn't need anything else. And I figured Kami was the best like defense against aggro.
Gotcha. Makes sense to me. And then Paragus Sacrifice paired with the Broly SCR. So how many games did this combo win you?
I would say a good bit. Maybe at least 3 or 4.
Nice.
I was experimenting with Demigra SCR before the Brawly. And I feel like in this counterplay meta, like you play it, it gets chomped, and then you lose your sparking, and you have a 40k rested that does nothing.
Right.
Or I could have sometimes a 0 mana 40 double dual attack, which is insanely better than Demigra.
Were you ever able to really resolve like the 1 life effect, or did that not come up too much?
I never did that effect, but it was never necessary. Gotcha. Games where I did Paragus into Brawly wins the game.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I mean, Ribrianne with triple attack, and then, you know, that's 3 swings, or 3 big swings that clear their hand a lot, and then, you know, the Paragus into the secret rare, that seems like very, very pressuring.
Especially game 1, if you don't reveal Paragus or Brawly, like you don't charge it,
right? They're
not going to expect it. They do the 3 attacks, they use their negates, they say, okay, I lived the Ribrianne, I'm good now. And then they're at like 2 or 3, play the Paragus, swing, vomit your hand except for Brawly, then kill Ribrianne, and you can almost always push for game.
Awesome. So looking at the rest of the deck, there's a solid green package. I mean, we have Ribrianne, we have Spirited Search Trunks. Piccolo Assimilated Ability was, in my opinion, a very cool tech. Like, Janemba saw some success with it as well. And my only question is, it's a turn 4 play, and you don't really have any ways to ramp. So was this ever too late against aggro, or was it kind of like the perfect spot?
I really like it against aggro. Unfortunately, I didn't really get a chance to make it happen, considering I didn't play against anything Brawly or U6 all of Nats.
Right.
But I do have instances where I'll play it in locals, and once it hits the board, the game's over. I just control the board for the rest of the game. If you're at a healthy 2 or 3 life, and you get 2 Piccolos on turn 4, they can't do anything. You take a 1 damage from leader every turn, and you build your hand again.
Gotcha. That seems. I really like this card a lot, so I'm happy it's getting a lot of play. So you have the dual color in here, and you have Chompa the Trickster. So that's like a very small yellow engine. Did this deck start out as mono green, and then what really made you want to add the yellow engine?
It was absolutely mono green for the longest time, but initially I had Nimbus in main, Personal Ambition in main, and Mutaito because I was afraid of ramp. But that was back when Shenjita would go 7-drop on turn 5 all the time. And then they started ramping up to 7 because people knew that people would play Mutaito. So instead of Mutaito, I had to migrate over to Champa. So instead of playing, 8 or 9 other yellow cards, I figured I'll just play the multicolor and then cast Champa for 3 if I have to. And it works out great. I almost always have a multicolor in my energy.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a really cool attack. I like the really small yellow package because it's not too cumbersome and it works out really, really well. So we'll go over to the sideboard. We have the Danger Attorney Bulma for your Janemba matchups. Unexpected Turn. Now there was a weird ruling with this card. I'm going to read it real quick just so everyone can get an idea of what I'm talking about. So counterplay, if your opponent has 3 or more battle cards in play with energy costs of 2 or more, the battle card your opponent is playing is placed in its owner's drop area instead. Then choose all battle cards with energy costs of 2 or less, ignoring barrier, and send them to the owner's warp. So there was a ruling that lasted for 5 minutes that said you do not need to meet part 1 of the effect to resolve part 2 of the effect, but that was quickly overturned. Did that influence why you decided to play this card, or was the card just really good against aggro?
I just really thought the card was good. I saw everyone playing it, and I was like, well, if everyone's trying this card, I might as well try it. Unfortunately, I got 0 testing with the card, and it turned out to be what I consider the weakest card of the deck.
Yeah.
Maybe just because I'm inexperienced with ways to set it up, ways to bait your opponent into having the 2 drops, but I feel like other cards could have taken its place and I would have been happier with it.
Yeah, I think maybe more Kami could have been good because this card, it's actually very hard to set up. Like you said, it's hard to bait your opponent into playing into it. It takes very specific situations for it to be live. So I definitely agree with what you're saying. So going through the rest of the sideboard, we have 2 more Nimbus, the 2 Piccolo, and then 2 Khalifa Troublemakers. So this seems like a very specific sideboard tech. What did you want this in against?
Khalifa is one of the strongest cards in this deck, at least. It's amazing against any form of counterplay because your kill turn is usually go into 7-drop Brienne triple attack game. That's
right.
Like how you're gonna win games. So if your opponent floats 2 energy and one of them's yellow, for example, they're gonna chomp on the Trickster your 7-drop. So you just play Khalifa first, tap down the yellow, and since going into 7-drop Brienne only costs 1 energy, you still have like all the energy in the world to do other side stuff before you go for your kill turn.
Awesome.
You tap down whatever they're trying to stop 7-drop Brienne with, basically.
Gotcha. Yeah, so it kind of prevents you from getting stopped, which that's really cool, especially with assembling the squad. And then the final card on the sideboard, Energy Barrage Frieza. So this is very specific barrier removal. So what kind of things were you looking to clear with this?
I wanted to remove a Mercenary Tau Ruthless Trainer, plain and simple. If they stick like 2 copies of that on the board and you try and go in with Brienne, you're going to lose your whole hand, and it's a problem. I had Double Impact Krillin for a while, and I even experimented with Son Goku in close quarters. But because this deck only really starts discarding cards by turn 4, just by the 7-drop Brienne, you don't really need an answer to Tau. Like, if aggro or some other deck that can threaten you wants to waste 2 energy on Tau, they're more than welcome to, because it gets me to my kill turn faster, I'm safer, and you can world peace it for free if you need it.
Gotcha. So I like the reasoning over Double Shot Krillin. I was actually going to ask about that, which is really cool. So overall, that is the entire 65. So any final things you want to say about the deck, the tournament, or any shout outs you want to get out there?
Definitely shout outs to Eric Solito and Kenneth Whitebean for helping me test all this. Stefan Chef also influenced Begrudging Respect Piccolo, and it was so perfect of a card. I want to thank my sponsor Geekitude for giving me the opportunity. And I want to thank everyone in the Facebook community group that has given me such positive reactions to Maidens, and just seeing your Brienne and Brienne de Chateau in what can be considered the meta and such high placing. I want to thank everyone who never stopped believing in Maidens, because they're the most important.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for being on, and we will see you next time.
Thanks so much.